Hey guys, it's MK here with a beginner's guide for Dark Souls. Um, Now, if you've been to my channel, you probably know that my main goal for creating this channel was to do mostly blind Let's Plays. And I'm definitely going to be doing mostly that, but what I really wanted to do is, for Dark Souls, it's a game that I really love, and I wanted to make kind of a little bit of a walkthrough for beginners, like someone who's brand new to the Souls series, just because this game is difficult when you don't know anything about it. And when I first started, I was looking for some kind of video guide to help me because I don't really like to read a bunch of stuff. And I found that there are a lot of resources, but as far as video guides, mainly you've got the blind Let's Plays, which are really fun to watch, don't get me wrong. Christopher Odd has a really great one. So you have those, and then you've got, on the opposite end of the spectrum, you've got somebody who's really good at the game doing a walkthrough, and they tend to just kind of breeze by it and beat all the bosses on the first try. And so I feel like it's a little more difficult when you're beginning because you're watching it and you're like, well, they did this, but there's no way I'm going to be able to do that, so then what do I do? So that's where this video comes in, to kind of offer a walkthrough at a slower pace with, hopefully I'll be able to give you some different routes you can take and different options and give you some good advice. So I hope you guys enjoy, and let's get started. We're going to create a new game. I will put in my name. And whenever there's an option, I almost always choose female, just because I am a girl, and I don't know, I just like to do that. So, we come to our very first important choice here, and that would be class. So, it's debatable whether or not the class that you choose really makes that much of a difference. If you scroll through them here, you can see that the different stats have different levels to them. And so obviously, yes, it does make a difference what you choose for the beginning of the game. But once you get into the game and you start collecting souls, you can level yourself up however you want. Your starting class has literally no restrictions to what you can level up. So with that said, you can't really go wrong when you pick, but I will say from my experience and from just what I've read as far as other people's experiences, there are a few classes that are a little bit better suited to the beginners. One that I always hear is the Pyromancer, and I think the reason for that is that you can fight with a lot of ranged battle, and so obviously if you don't have to get close up, there's less of a chance you're going to get hit. So if that's something that interests you, you're into more of the magic side of things, you do actually get a close range weapon, but there's a lot of focus on casting spells and basically shooting firebombs from your hand, which is pretty cool. But I personally am not going to go with this as a starting build. I'll probably end up getting some pyromancy spells like later on in the game, but for the start I'd rather have something that's more suited for close range. But anyway, if that interests you, I've heard that's a really good starting class. The other ones are Warrior and Knight. Knight is a good one if you want to be basically a tank. As you can see, it says they're not easily toppled, so you can withstand more hits than, say, a Wanderer who is more dexterity based, and you can see their armor is not as good, but they can dodge quicker. So it really depends on what you're looking for. I actually did Wanderer a few times, and I really liked it. I've also done warrior though, and warrior is good. I like the sword that you start out with. So as far as what I'm going to choose today, warrior has a pretty good balance. Oh, and let me just briefly talk about these stats. So the ones that I tend to like to focus on leveling up are vitality, endurance, strength, and dexterity. Vitality is your health or hit points, so that's very important. Obviously, the more you level that up, the longer your health bar is. Attunement has to do with magic. So if you're going to be using a lot of magic, you probably want higher attunement. I don't have a lot of familiarity with that. And then endurance relates to your equipment load, and I think it actually also relates to your stamina. So you have a health bar, but you also have a stamina bar. And so if your stamina bar runs out, like if you do a lot of attacks close together, your stamina is going to run out, and then you're going to be stuck not being able to move for a few seconds, which will leave you vulnerable. So stamina is very important to watch. Strength is important for wielding certain weapons. A lot of the heavier weapons have a strength requirement in order to wield them effectively. So if you see a weapon that you think looks really cool and you want to use it, then you'll need to focus on getting the strength requirement for that weapon. And then the last one I like to level up is dexterity, which makes you quicker. And I like to be quick. I wouldn't say I like to dodge everything. Like, you'll see me using a shield, so there's definitely some hits I'm going to be taking. But I like to have kind of a balance between dodging, being quick, and then also being able to take some hits. So I try to level those 4 things up fairly evenly. But like I said, you can really do whatever you want, see what works for you. The only other thing I'll say about the stats is don't put anything into resistance. I have not personally done it myself, but everyone says that resistance does nothing for you. So don't waste souls on leveling up resistance. So what I'm going to pick today is the warrior. And once you have your class selected, you pick your gift. Now, what I'm going to recommend for the gift is the Master Key, unless you've chosen the Thief class. If you choose the Thief, you already have the Master Key, which is pretty cool. So that's definitely a plus to choosing the Thief, because you get the Master Key and then you get to pick another gift. But you can read through these at your leisure. A lot of these things you can actually find later on in the game, like black fire bombs you can buy. Twin humanities you get sometimes from beating bosses. Binoculars you can find. Pendant is useless. The tiny being's ring I believe you can pick up, I'm not sure. And also not sure about the old witch's ring. But if you have the Master Key, it allows you to get into certain areas that you wouldn't be able to get into until later on in the game, which sometimes can be helpful, which can lead you to better weapons and such. Sometimes, if you don't know where you're going, the Master Key can hurt you. So just know that if you open a door with the Master Key, it might lead you somewhere that you're not ready for. So if you go down somewhere if you go through a door that you've opened with the Master Key and you find that it's looking really difficult, then you should probably go back and come back to that later. But we will get into that a little bit later. Now, I have to select it. So I'm choosing the Master Key, and now you have to choose your body type. I don't think it really has a lot of bearing on how you move, so I usually just go with average. Face, I think I like the classic Xena face. You can play around with it, see what you like. Hair, usually I go for ponytail. Hair color, By the way, this character does not look anything like me. I'm gonna choose gold hair, I think. I think that's everything for the character. There's not a whole lot of customization options, but it really doesn't matter. The customization is purely for visual appeal. So we're gonna go ahead and, oh, actually, I think if you go to customize, you can do a little bit more with your character. I'm not going to play around with it, actually. I'm just gonna go ahead and start the game so we don't waste too much time here.
In the age of ancients, the world was unformed, shrouded by fog. A land of grey crags, arched trees, and everlasting dragons. But then there was fire, and with fire came disparity. Heat and cold, life and death, and of course, light and dark. Then from the dark they came and found the souls of lords within the flame. Nito, the first of the dead. The Witch of Asylum and her daughters of chaos. Gwyn, the Lord of Sunlight, and his faithful knights. And the furtive pygmy, so easily forgotten. With the strength of lords, they challenged the dragons. Gwyn's mighty bolts peeled apart their stone scales. The witches weaved great firestorms. Nito unleashed a miasma of death and disease. And Seath, the Scaleless, betrayed his own, and the dragons were no more. Thus began the Age of Fire. But soon the flames will fade, and only dark will remain. Even now, there are only embers. And man sees not light, but only endless nights. And amongst the living are seen carriers of the accursed dark side.
Okay, so that's a pretty cool intro. I don't think I've actually watched that entire full intro before. So that explains a lot. Just keep that in mind as you're playing throughout the game. A lot of those, monsters in that intro are going to be bosses.
And in this land, the undead are corralled and led to the north. Where they are locked away to await the end of the world. This is your fate.
Here we are. I'm just chilling in our cozy prison cell. But everything is about to change. Sorry for the phone. You may wonder why someone just threw a body in here, but it's actually going to help us. Alright, so we start out here. This is the Undead Asylum. This is us. As you can see, I have my warrior gear on. And you see this shimmering white cloud-like thing coming out of this corpse. And as you can see, it's giving me the option to pillage, so we're going to do that. And we've actually been given the key to our dungeon cell, which is very convenient. That guy dropped it through a hole in the ceiling. We'll have a chance later to see him again. So for now, we're going to open our dungeon and come out here. First thing you're going to notice are these little orange things on the ground. And if you read one, right stick camera controls. So they give you hints on what to do. In this first area, the Undead Asylum, these things are all from the game itself. But once you get beyond this area, then players actually will leave notes on the ground that can help you or sometimes lead you in the wrong direction, which is not cool, but some people do it. R1 is attack. So as you can see, we have a pretty puny, it's hard to see, sword hilt, and that's all we have as far as weapons. But we can go ahead and hit this guy, even though he's really not bothering us at all. And you can see in the right hand corner there's a number 20 there. That is the number of souls we are currently carrying. Every time you kill something, you receive souls. R2 is your strong attack. So I used R1 on that other guy. So now on this guy, I'm going to go ahead and use R2. Whoops, I missed. And we do have a sword hilt, so the strong attack didn't really do that much more damage than the weaker attack. But that will definitely change once we get a better weapon. So, okay, here it's telling you how to run. So you use the left stick to go forward and hold down the circle button or the corresponding button on the Xbox. I'm not really sure what that is at the moment. Let's try this. Now, R3 is how you target someone, and that's actually just pressing down on the right stick. So you can see that as I target him, a circle appears, and that means I'm locked on. So if I move, even if I back up, I'm always going to be facing him, which is very handy. And then when you swing, you pretty much can't miss. So yes, locking on is very useful. It doesn't always work well in boss fight situations, but for your regular enemies, it's really good. And then if you've got multiple enemies, once you kill one, the target will automatically switch to your next closest enemy, which is really handy. Okay, so we're going to head over here and find this ladder. And step out here. Let's read this. Rest at bonfire, recover HP. So, in this game, bonfires are going to become your very best friend. So whenever you see one, always stop to light it and rest at it. And there's usually things you can do at a bonfire, but in this tutorial area, there's actually nothing you can do right now with it. But just know that if you die, you will respawn back here at this bonfire. And another thing I should mention about dying really quick is, you see that I have 60 souls collected now. If I were to die, I would lose those souls when I respawn at the bonfire. However, if I go back to that spot where I died, you'll see a bloodstain and kind of like a green shimmery little cloud. And if you go there and touch it, you'll get your souls back. But you only have one shot to do it. So if you die again before you get to the spot where your souls are, you lose them forever. And trust me, it will happen, and it's going to suck when it happens, but it's really not as big of a deal as it seems to be at first. So just keep that in mind. Now, stepping into this room, I'm going to advise you to go to the left right away, because there is a demon that's about to fall, and you really don't have what you need to fight him yet, so I would just suggest running straight through here, and we'll come back later and take care of him. For now, there's another bonfire, which, don't let this fool you, they are never ever this close together once you get further into the game. But since this is the tutorial area, they're being a lot easier on you. Alright, so continuing onward. Oops. Read the message. Get your shield. Okay. So if you look down this little hallway, be careful because that guy shoots arrows. You can see that little white cloud? That is your shield. And so you need to go and grab that so that you can use it to block these arrows this guy is shooting. So now, if you come in here really quick so you're out of the way of the arrows, I'll show you how to equip stuff. So if you press start, it brings up this little menu. Go to the second one over, change equipment. And down here, you can actually equip two things in your left hand. One being usually a shield, the other can be a weapon if you want. I tend to keep a bow on this side. But we're going to go ahead and equip our heater shield because that's all we've got. And if you actually, let's see. Well, we'll talk about weapon and shield stats a little bit later. But right now we've got all our equipment, or all our armor equipped, and then a shield and a sword hilt. So we're okay to move forward. Taking a look at this shield. Okay, so that's just telling you what I basically just told you. In order to block with the shield, you hold L1, like that. And you can do something with the shield using L2, but we will talk about that a little bit later. So come out here. You can block these guys' arrows with your shield. Target him. You can try to kill him now if you want with your sword hilt, but it's probably better to just let him run away, which he usually does. Okay, well maybe he's not. But this right here is our starting weapon. So I'm going to just run back here quickly so I can equip it. Whoops, I'm getting shot in the back. When I first played this game, I picked up my longsword, but I didn't realize that you actually had to equip it. I don't know, it was just really dumb. So I didn't equip it, and so I kept my straight sword hilt. And it did very little damage on every enemy I came up against. And so I was like, oh my gosh, this is the hardest game I've ever played in my entire life. Because it was taking me so long just to kill every single one, and I was dying so much, and I was like, this is terrible. And then I realized, oh, I didn't equip it, so that was very dumb. So make sure you equip your weapon. So this guy, we're just going to hit him a couple times with our new sword, or whatever your starting weapon is, and he's pretty easy to take out. So you'll come up upon a fog wall, which you'll see a lot of in this game. You're going to go ahead and walk through it. Sometimes when you walk through a fog wall, you're going to actually enter a boss area, but that's not always the case. So that makes it a little bit difficult sometimes because you don't really know. So you can do circle to back step like this. And if you press forward or any direction and circle, you can roll. Now, if you'll look briefly in here, this is the guy who actually gave us the corpse with the key on it. But we can't get to him right now. We'll just look over here. You can't, this body up here looks so tempting, but you can't actually get up there. I think once you come back later on, you do actually get a chance to come back here further into the game. I think you can get it at that point somehow. But anyways, we're going to come back over here. And you can see this wall looks kind of weird. And it's actually breakable, not with the sword. But it's hard to see, it's kind of dark, but I don't know if you can see a huge ball sitting up there. So basically what you want to do is start going up the stairs so you can trigger this ball and then quickly get out of the way. And there you go. Made a hole in the wall, and now we can get to this guy. So let's talk to him.
Oh, you. You're no hollow. Thank goodness. I'm done for, I'm afraid. I'll die soon, then lose my sanity. I wish to ask something of you. You and I are both undead. Hear me out, will you?
You pretty much want to... Sorry. You pretty much want to say yes here, because if you don't, then you can't get the things he's going to give you, so...
Regrettably, I have failed in my mission, but perhaps you can keep the torch lit. There is an old saying in my family, "Thou who art undead art chosen, and thine exodus from the undead asylum maketh pilgrimage to the land of ancient lords. When thou ringeth the bell of awakening, the fate of the undead thou shalt know." Well, now you know, and I can die with hope in my heart. Oh, one more thing. Here, take this. An Estus flask, an undead favorite.
So he's just given us an Estus flask, which is super useful. It's how you actually regenerate your health in this game.
Oh, and this.
And he gives us a key that allows us to progress further in the area, so we'll take that.
I must bid farewell. I would hate to harm you after death. So go now.
It's kind of sad. This guy basically realizes that he's about to turn into a hollow. So it's kind of confusing. He said we're both undead, and we are. Like, if you see, it's hard to see, but if you can see my face, I look really scary. I am undead. He's undead. And yet, we still have a chance to regain our humanity, which is what this game is all about. But if we don't do it in time, or if we lose hope... Well, actually, let's walk down here really quickly. If we lose hope, then basically we turn into a hollow, which are these guys we've been fighting against. If you open this up, it just takes you into this area, so it's just a little shortcut, so you don't have to go back through there if you ever come back to this bonfire. We'll rest here. No real reason to, just because we're here. And here we go, onward. Up here. You shield up and lock on, let him hit, and then go for a hit. Something about this game, about the combat in this game, is that it requires a lot of patience. You can't just go in and just spam the attack button. Otherwise, it's really going to get you killed a lot. So, there's a way to wield your weapon two-handed. You press triangle. You can see I've got it in both hands now. This is effective if you're going for a stronger attack. Alright, here, this is telling you how you can kick and do a jump attack. Okay, maybe we'll try to do that so I can demonstrate. The two-handed wielding does more damage, but you can still block a little bit with it, but not very well. So only use that if it's in a situation where you're not going to need to block or use your shield, or you're very good at dodging. Okay. Did we read this one? Resting at bonfires revives enemies. Oh yeah. That's something that you'll figure out very early on, is you can rest at a bonfire at any time, but it does have a consequence. All the enemies that you previously killed will have respawned. So just keep that in mind before you rest at a bonfire. Now, before we go through this fog wall, which is actually going to take us to the tutorial boss, we're just going to walk over here. R1, behind an enemy, critical hit. Okay, so what this is telling you is how to do a backstab, which we're going to try to do with this enemy up here. Parry, you can repel an enemy attack after parrying or riposte. Okay, parrying is a bit more difficult than backstabbing, so I wouldn't worry about that too much yet, although you don't want to let it go too long. But what we're going to do is try to do a backstab on this guy. Nope, didn't get it. Wow, okay, I'm terrible at backstabbing. What you have to do is get directly behind him and hit him with R1, but you can't do it while he's doing his attack motions because it will not work, as you can see. Okay, well, I did not get the backstab, but I'll have opportunities to show you that in the future. It's locked. Okay, I don't know. I think there's a key that you can get and come back later and go through that door, but we don't need to worry about that now. Alright, let's see what this says. Plunging attack is going to be really useful not only for this boss, but for the actual, the first boss in the actual game outside the tutorial. So, in order to do a plunging attack, you have to be obviously above your enemy, and as you can see, there he is right there. And you just don't jump, you just kind of fall over the edge. Oh! Yay! Well, we're not going to be able to do the plunging attack. We waited too long. Okay. I think what I'm actually going to do is let him kill me so that I can actually show you the plunging attack. Because that was really silly of me. I've got to work on being able to talk and explain things while I'm actually doing things. Because just standing there obviously did not work out well for me. So we're back here. And you can just go take this shortcut. Woo! Don't do that. You can see that if you fall a significant distance, you do take fall damage, so keep that in mind. Now with those guys, you can see I did 2 hits in a row, and I know I said before you've got to be patient, but these guys are pretty slow. So once you kind of study an enemy's attack pattern, you can judge how quick or how slow they are at attacking, and based on that, you can decide if you have enough time to get in a few attacks at a time or just one. Okay, and actually I'm going to go back in here and try to actually get the backstab this time. Sorry that I didn't get it before. Nope. There we go. So it does kind of a special animation like that. When you get the backstab, you'll definitely know when you've hit it. The animation depends on the weapon you have equipped that you're using. Alright, now I'm going to actually talk before I go in here. So the plunging attack, you just basically need to fall off the edge. Don't jump or else you might miss him. But make sure he's right below you. Fall off the edge and press R1 while you're in the air. And you should be able to perform a plunging attack, which does significantly more damage than any of your other attacks. I'm going to fill up my health before doing. And here we go. Okay, so kind of got the plunging attack. For this guy, and for a lot of the big guys, a good strategy is to stay up really close to them. Once he does that, then be careful. See, I just got hit. You can block. Believe it or not, you can block more than you think you can. Like, you could block that big shield, or that big club he's using, but I find it just as easy to just dodge it, which I'm doing terribly at. And basically, just hack away at this guy until he's dead. And I'm using my weak attack here just because it's a little bit quicker than my slow attack. And you can see it does pretty decent damage to this guy. I'll take him out with just a few more hits. And we got him. So he is a tutorial boss. He's not super easy, I'll definitely say that. But if you can just try to stay behind him, that's a pretty good strategy. When he does fly up in the air, back off a little bit, and so he won't crush you when he landed like he did me. What we get for beating him is a big Pilgrim's Key, which allows us to access the next area, and we get a humanity. Humanity is a very important part of this game. It allows you to reverse your hollowing and actually become human for a period of time. Basically, you become human until you die. And then it also allows you to kindle bonfires. I don't know if you noticed, but whenever I would rest at a bonfire, I would get 5 Estus flasks from that. Well, if you kindle a bonfire, you can raise that number to 10, which becomes very useful in certain areas where you know you're going up against a tough enemy. I don't think there's anything in this area, but we'll get more into kindling and stuff later. What's this? Be wary of demon. Okay, so this is a message left by a player. And I think they are trolling us right now because we are going to come across something that looks a little scary, but it's not a demon.
Only in the ancient legends it is stated that one day an undead shall be chosen.
Yeah, just a bird.
To leave the Undead Asylum in pilgrimage to the land of the ancient lords. Lordran.
Alright, so here we are. the land of Lordran. This particular area is known as Firelink Shrine. And this area is somewhat of a central hub for us here in the game. You can access a lot of different places from this area. So what we're going to do first, I don't know if you can tell, I didn't notice this at first, but the flame is a lot higher than the other bonfires. And as you can see, when we rest there, we've got 10 Estus flasks. So this bonfire is already kindled. And now we have a few more options at the bonfire. We can level up, kindle, or reverse hollowing. So it takes one humanity to reverse hollowing and another humanity to kindle. But you can't kindle if you're hollow. So you have to reverse hollowing. And actually this is a good time to talk about online play, because you see there's another guy sitting there. That is an actual player in the game. And you will have an opportunity, if you so desire, to help other players, receive help from them, or invade their world and try to kill them, which sounds pretty bad. And I personally, I don't really like to invade because I don't like to be invaded. I often die when I'm invaded, and when you get killed by an invader, they take some of your stuff, so that's not cool. But if you're worried about being invaded, then stay hollow for the most part. You can't be invaded while you're hollow. You have to reverse your hollowing and be human in order to be invaded. But we will get into that more later. For now, we're going to level up a little bit. And you can see it costs 724 souls to level up at this point. And as you level up more, it's going to get more and more expensive to raise your stats, which is to be expected. So I think we're going to put one into Vitality and one into Endurance. Looks like we can do one more. We'll go ahead and do another Vitality. Make my top 4 stats equal. Accept that. Okay. Alright. We're not going to reverse hollowing. There's really no point in doing so at this moment. So what I'm going to do before I end this part of the game, or this part of the walkthrough, is explore Firelink Shrine. Oh yes, we've got to talk to this guy.
Well, what do we have here? You must be a new arrival. Let me guess, fate of the undead, right? Well, you're not the first, but there's no salvation here. You'd have done better to rot in the Undead Asylum. But too late now. Well, since you're here, let me help you out. There are, actually, 2 bells of awakening. One's up above in the Undead Church. The other is far, far below, in the ruins at the base of Blight Town. Ring them both, and something happens. Brilliant, right? Not much to go on, but I have a feeling that won't stop you. So, off you go. It is why you came, isn't it? To this accursed land of the undead?
Alright, one thing I should mention about the NPCs and non-playable characters in this game is you should always talk to them more than once, because they often have a lot more to say. Go ahead and talk to him again.
Your face. You're practically hollow. But who knows? Going hollow could solve quite a bit.
I think you talk to him about 4 or 5 times to get everything out of him.
Restoring your humanity? Well, there are a few ways to go about it. Collected bit by bit from corpses. Or you can butter up a cleric and get yourself summoned. And the quickest way, although I never do it, is to kill a healthy undead and pillage its humanity. Coveting thy neighbor is only human, after all.
So what he was talking about there with killing a healthy undead is what I was mentioning before is basically invading. If you invade someone else's world and you kill them, and they're not hollow, they're technically a healthy undead, you will gain humanity from that, but you will also not be very well liked by people. So if that matters to you at all, let's talk to him some more.
What are you looking at? Don't try anything clever. You might regret it.
So he's afraid now that we're going to kill him. And you actually can kill any of these non-playable characters. I would strongly recommend against it. There's one that I would say wouldn't do much damage to you in the game if you killed him, and I'll mention that when we get to that point. This guy, I'm not sure what you would actually get if you killed him, but I'm not going to kill him, and I would not recommend it.
What? You want to hear more? Oh, that's all we need. Another inquisitive soul. Well, listen carefully then. One of the bells is up above in the Undead church, but the lift is broken. You'll have to climb the stairs up the ruins and access the Undead Burg through the waterway. The other bell is back down below the Undead Burg, within the plague-infested Blight Town. But I'd die again before I step foot in that cesspool.
Yes, Blight Town is a very unpleasant place. Probably you are not going to like it when you get there, but it's not really as bad as it first seems.
Bloody hell, what is it now? You ask too many questions.
I think that's all he's got to say.
What now? I'm not up for chatting. Leave me alone.
Okay. So we got a lot of useful information from him. He's given us basically what our mission is. The first part is to ring these 2 bells of awakening, and he's actually told us the locations of these bells. One is in the Undead Church, which is above us. Don't think you can really see it, but it's up that way. You can't see it from here. We do have to take that little staircase over there to get up to it because the elevator's broken. The other place is Blight Town, which is way, way, way down underground. We'll get there eventually. But before I end this video, I'm just going to show you where to find a couple of goodies here in the Firelink Shrine. This one's pretty obvious. That's 3 humanity. Okay, that's pretty good. That'll be useful. If we go up here, let's go over this way. And Firelink Shrine is just a really great place because there are no enemies. Here's some fire bombs. Those are useful for ranged battle. But Firelink Shrine is like your safe place. I like being in Firelink Shrine. If we go around here, select. Okay, so if you press select, you can access. Come on now. You can access your gesture menu, which you can play around with if you want. You probably saw there's a guy over there. We're not going to talk to him yet, because we have to head over this way to get to our... Well, actually, we don't have to head over this way, but we're still not going to talk to him yet because this video is already running kind of long. So we're just going to go and pick up a few things. Just want to make sure I'm not missing things. Try jumping off. Well, this will actually open up later in the game. I can't access it now. This empty chest never has anything in it. But usually if you see a closed chest like that, it usually has some kind of goodie in it. You can actually stumble upon some chests in a little bit. If you go through here, secret ahead. If you walk very carefully around this corner, you'll see another corpse. Now, Soul of a Lost Undead. So I'll explain that in a minute, but basically, if you find a Soul of a Lost Undead, it's like having souls, but you're not at risk of losing them. They pop up in your inventory. When did we get that? Well, basically, you could use that to banish, I think, an invader, possibly, or if you're in another world, use it to return home. But basically, you use it to acquire souls. And if you break it, the souls that it's acquiring will appear in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. But if you do use up that soul to acquire more souls, then those souls are at risk of being lost. So if you're not going to use them right away, I would say just hang on to it and wait till you get to a bonfire or however you're going to use them so that you won't risk losing them. Right. Actually, let's head over this way. Now, I'm going to walk over here briefly. If you look down there, that's going to be really tempting, but I would strongly recommend going into the graveyard this early in the game. It's pretty much a suicide mission. I mean, you could go down there to pick up those items if you want, but you're pretty much going to get killed. Luckily, when you die, you don't lose items, you only lose souls. So if you don't really have any souls and you want to try to run down there and pick up some of those white items, go for it, but the enemies in there are skeletons and they're difficult to kill at this point in the game, so I'm not going to recommend going in there. But we will go up here. There's the bird that brought us in there. Hi, bird. Brought us here, rather. And we go around this way. We've got another Soul of the Lost Undead. Okay, I think that is the major items in this area. I'm just trying to think. If I've missed anything, then I'll show you where they're at in the next video. But for now, we're going to come down here. And, whoops. I'm going to actually use those souls that we just found because we're going to level up with them. So where your Estus flask is, if you press the down button on your D-pad, it'll actually scroll through all of your equipped consumable items, and the first few that you pick up are automatically equipped. So we've got Humanity equipped, we've got the Fire Bombs, and then we've got those 2 Souls of a Lost Undead. What you can do is if you go to change equipment, these are those slots right here. So you can add or take these away if you want. And there's one more slot you could put something in. But if you're, what was I going to say? Oh, be careful what you equip here, only because I've many times, because you use Estus a lot, and so if you're out here and you've got it on the wrong thing, you could accidentally throw a firebomb instead of heal yourself, so that's not always good. But we're going to use these 2 souls right now. They each give us 200 souls. So, oh, we don't have enough to level up, do we? We need 775. Okay, well, I guess we're not going to level up yet, but we'll be able to do so shortly. For now, I'm going to stop the video here. I hope this gave you a good introduction to the game, and if you're left with any questions after watching this, definitely leave them in the comments and I will answer them to the best of my ability. If you've watched this, thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked it. The videos will not typically be this long, I don't think. This one was long because of a lot of cutscenes and kind of getting things started, but I'll try to keep them a little bit shorter in the future. Thanks again for watching, and stay tuned for part 2.